guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing my August wrap-up. So in the month of August, I read 11 books. I started doing my TBR checklist this month and it worked out really, really well. I was able to read from all 7 categories plus a few more, and I read some really good books this month. I read some that I didn't love, but most of them I enjoyed a lot. So let's get into it. So the first book I read in August, and probably my favorite book I read, was Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. I fucking loved this book. This is everything I wanted it to be and more. Riley Sager's writing is just the most addictive, just delicious. Oh my god, I love him. I love him so much. I will read anything he writes. I still haven't read Final Girls. I'll get to it. But I loved this so much. It's basically about this woman who, as a child, lived in a haunted house. She doesn't believe it was actually haunted, but her dad made a bunch of money off of the book that he wrote about their time in this haunted house. You get not only her account of having to go back to this house, but you also get the book that her father wrote about the house. It's incredible. It is so fucking creepy. I don't do well with horror. I just don't. I don't do well with paranormal shit. It freaks me the fuck out. And I just couldn't put this down. I didn't want to. I had serious nightmares and trouble sleeping because of this book. And I loved it so much. I have heard mixed reviews about the ending, but I loved it. I love Riley Sager. I will read anything that man puts out. 5 stars. Highly recommend. Love this book. Next up, another book I really enjoyed was Dig by A.S. King. This was the first book I've ever read by A.S. King, and I freaking loved it. It is basically about 4 teenagers and their experience, and they're all kind of connected by potatoes. It's kind of really strange, but in the best way. I absolutely loved it. I don't want to tell you too much. I pretty much went in blind. I had no clue what it really was about, and it's so weird, but so beautiful and so well done, and I want to read everything A.S. King has ever written now because it was just incredible. 5 stars. Next up, I read The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. This at first was not doing anything for me. I was not really enjoying it at all. I ended up giving it a 3-star because it was decent. There were a lot, I felt like there were a lot of underdeveloped parts, and then other moments that we were spending too much time with. I don't really know how to describe it. There were just some parts where I was like, oh, I feel like that wasn't given a lot. And then other parts where I was like, okay, we're here a lot. I didn't know what this book was about at all. This is one of the most talked about series on BookTube, and I had no clue what it was about. I did not know that there were psychics and tarot cards and ghosts in this book. But that's literally what it's about. And ley lines. No idea. I had no idea. I didn't know what this was about at all. I don't know what I thought it was about, but I didn't know it was that. And it honestly added to my enjoyment a lot. And I do want to continue the series. I don't know when that will be, but 3 stars. It was good. Next up, I continued my reread of Harry Potter by reading The Half-Blood Prince. Still my favorite book in the series. Enjoyed it a lot. Then I read The Marrow Thieves by Sherry Demaline. This is incredible. I read this on ebook. I loved it so much. It's basically a dystopian novel where people have stopped being able to dream and have now started attacking indigenous people for their bone marrow and enabling them to dream, and they're on the run. It's incredibly beautiful and very well done. It was a 5-star read for me. I enjoyed it. It was heartbreaking in like the best way. I loved it. Next up, my first audiobook for the month was Bad Feminist by Roxane Gay. I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed most of this. There was a lot of pop culture in it for me. I don't love nonfiction books that focus heavily on pop culture examples. I just feel like they date themselves that way, and a lot of the time I can't connect with what the author is saying because I am not familiar with that pop culture text. It didn't really hinder my enjoyment of this book that much. I still gave it a 4-star. I loved some of her essays. I thought some of the essays on just, there were so many different things that she talked about and touched on in this book that were just so poignant. I can never say that word. That were just so important and so amazingly well written that I just truly enjoyed them. The pop culture stuff just really took away that 1 star for me. But other than that, amazing book, really good on audio, 4 stars, really enjoyed it. Next up, my series continuation of the month and my most disappointing read of the month. Hunting Prince Dracula by Carrie Maniscalco. This is like super laminated because it's from the library, so I'm gonna set it down. The writing in this book does nothing for me. Audrey Rose's character annoys the shit out of me. She's so fucking pompous and pretentious and annoying and awful, and I hate it. I think I would have really enjoyed some of the aspects of this book, some of the spooky, creepy, like we're in a haunted castle thing. We're in Dracula's castle, and I was annoyed. Like, that's not like me. The writing, I remember in Stalking Jack the Ripper, I had some issues with the writing, but I felt like this was so much worse for me. I just truly could not stand it, and I really had to struggle to get through it. And unfortunately, I have to read the 3rd one next month. But I did it, and there were some decent parts for me, but a lot of not so greatness, so 2 stars. Next up, I listened to The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. I gave this 3 stars. I read the reviews on this and agreed with a lot of the 2-star and 1-star reviews that this was sort of entitled and just, there were moments of just like, okay, little pompous, little, I don't want to say basic, but kind of, and I liked some of what he was saying about your values and having values that, you know, are not, that you can control and not something others can control. I liked some of the aspects of it. I finished it in like a day because it's a very short audiobook. I gave it a 3-star. It was just okay. I didn't have too many problems with it, but I totally understand why some people did. Next up, I read Blanca y Roja by Anna Marie McLemore. I enjoyed this. I gave it a 3 stars. Ultimately, it took me a really, really long time to read this book. I started it at the beginning of the month, and it took me around 3 weeks to just force myself to read. I liked it fine. I liked some of the choices, but there were just some things that I didn't love, honestly. I'm not even sure what it is. It might just be that retellings are not my thing, to be honest, and while it was a very interesting take on Snow White and Rose Red and the Bear Prince, I, at the same time, was just kind of, I don't want to say bored, but kind of bored, kind of just meh. I loved Paige as a character. I even enjoyed Barclay's character quite a bit. I'm not really sure. I loved the characters in this book. I liked the story as a whole. I don't really know what was hindering my enjoyment because the writing is beautiful. I just don't think this was my fairy tale retelling. Next up, I decided to take 20 minutes to read I Could Pee on This and other poems about cats. This is just really fun and silly. I love cats. I have very funny, interesting cats in my life, so I could relate to this book on some level. It was really cute. I gave it a 5-star because it's just silly and fun, and it was a really quick, nice read. Last up, I listened to We Should All Be Feminist by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I read Dear Ije Awele the beginning of the year, and really enjoyed it, and this was exactly the same. I gave it a 5-star. I love the point she makes in this. They're very basic, but she just has such a great way of expressing her views about feminism and why we should all be feminists. Really, really well done, and I look forward to reading more of her essays because I truly enjoy the 2 that I've already read. So those are the 11 books that I was able to read in August. I kind of pulled a lot of them out of my ass because a lot of these are really short audiobooks or really short poetry collections. So 11 feels like a lot, but it's really not. Yeah, I read some amazing books this month, some books that I'm really excited about, but that's it for this month. So thank you guys so much for watching. Comment, like, subscribe, all the normal stuff, and I'll see you guys again super soon. Bye.